there, it's Liz Yuille from Old Stables Crafts. Thank you for joining me again today. Apologies still for the croaky voice. I am filming this ahead of time, so hopefully by the time you actually watch this, my voice will be back to normal. However, in the meantime, I am using the Well Dressed stamp set today, which is part of the second release offering during the celebration. This is a level 1 item. So if you place an order of £45 or more in my online store, you will get to pick this if you so desire. I thought it would be worth having a look at what we can make with this. And the first project that I have to share with you is this one, which uses 2 of the stamps, but it also uses stamps from the annual catalogue stamp set, A Good Man. And particularly, I thought the You Do a Great Job of Being a Great Guy was appropriate for this set. And I love being able to take things from one catalogue and match them with another catalogue. And this is a really good example of why you should keep your scraps. This is just a tiny piece of designer series paper. This is what I have left of my first pack of the Country Club paper. And you can see I keep everything, because you just never know. So let me show you, I should show you the inside as well, so we've got some stamping on the inside. Now this uses the stamp stepping on the Stamparatus, and I've just realised what I forgot to grab, which is my mint macaron ink pad. I'm going to do a slightly different colourway this time, so don't think I'm mad grabbing mint macaron. I'm not, honest. Well, maybe a little. Anyway, let me show you how I have put all this together. So, I am going to need the stamp case, because it's the best way of making sure your Stamparatus flap is flat. Now, I am going to grab, this is a really old piece of the mini designer series paper, and frankly it's probably about time I replaced it, but hey, excuse me one moment. So I've got this set right at the very edge of the plate, and I'm going to going to pop my magnet down just to make sure everything stays in place. And the designer series paper pattern that I'm using is this one. And although mint macaron isn't in the designer series paper, if I grab you a piece of mint macaron, you will see that the garden green stamped off is pretty close, which is why I thought I would use the mint macaron ink, because, as I say, I want to match to this paper. So, mint macaron. Previously I used, on my original, this is Smoky Slate and Basic Grey. And again, that was to get a bit of definition between the two colours. Basic Grey is one of the colours in the designer series paper. And Smoky Slate I always think of as a lighter version of that. So, ink up, stamp. Take your plate out and step down once. Ink up. Stamp, take your plate out, step down once, and we're just going to do this until we get to the bottom. Well, almost, because there's a little trick I want to do at the end, which I will show you in a moment, because I should have stepped first and then inked, but hey. Right, now, I'm going to clean the stamp before I go to this piece, and I will explain why in a moment. But let me just grab my chamois, which is actually basically clean. You probably could do with another rinse under the tap, but it is basically clean. I'm just going to grab a piece of scrap paper and stamp onto that to make sure it is clean, which it is. That's a project I did earlier this week. Right, so I'm actually going to do this way. So I'm going to just take the ink pad, and what I want to do, of course if I had half a brain, I would grab a post-it note and cover the bit of the stamp I don't want to ink up, and then just ink up the rest of that stamp, throw away the post-it note, and pop this back in, and then we just get this final edge, which is much prettier than having a clean edge here and a not clean edge here. So it's just part of what I do is I can't be doing with things that are uneven. It's just one of my weird things. Right, okay, so we're going to have the narrower part of the white at the top, and then grab my piece of Designer Series paper, and it's the one with the golf bag on the back, which frankly I'm not into golf. No one I know is into golf. My father did play golf for a short while, and he doesn't anymore, even though when I was brought up we basically lived in a part of London that had nothing but golf clubs, or golf courses I suppose I should say. So I'm going to come slightly over the bottom of in fact I'm going to line this up on my grid paper, because that way it'll be straight, and then just line up. And again, I've got two of what I'm calling mint macaron diamonds at either end, and I want those to be reasonably even on the paper. There we are. And then I can just grab my snips and from the back snip the ends away like that. And then the next thing I do with my mint macaron is to grab my sentiment from the A Good Man, ink it up again in mint macaron, and just stamp that there and hope that it's straight, which it is. So that's all I need for the mint macaron for the moment, although having said that I do actually need to do some more stamping with it, but I will do that in a moment. So the next thing to do is to stamp my tie, which I've got mounted up on my D block. I'm going to grab a scrap of paper, also known as an order summary, and my garden green, and I'm going to use the garden green again, but I'm going to use a faded version. So I'm going to ink it up and stamp off once, and then on my scrap of Whisper White, stamp again. And then we have a nice faded version of the garden green. So this we can then fussy cut, and by fussy cutting I mean cut out. So really easy to do. So all you're going to do is follow the line, leaving just a very slight line around the edge. And rather than have you watch me do that, here's one I prepared earlier in true blue piece of fashion. Right, okay, so I need some dimensionals, and pop one there, and I need mini ones. You don't have to use mini, you could just cut your large dimensionals in half, but I have mini dimensionals, so they are perfect for smaller areas. And as I have some smaller areas, I'm going to use my mini dimensionals. And peel those off. Of course, what I haven't checked is that I have a mint macaron card base, or indeed a garden green one. Either of those would be great. But there we go. So let's just pop that there. Don't need those anymore. Now, before I go any further, I want to grab my metallic pearls, and I can't decide whether to use the silver or the gold. I used the silver on the previous one because I was using smoky slate, but I'm wondering if I can actually, I think the gold might be better because there's the crushed curry in there. So let me grab my, these have been to class, so they're all over the place. Someone decided that they needed to open a new packet, even though I had a perfectly good packet open. But there we go, that's the joys of running classes, really. And one just down there. And I like this sort of triangle. It's a squished triangle, but it is basically a triangle rather than a line. So that's those. Now, the only other thing I need to do is to stamp on the inside of my card. So I'm going to grab my Stamparatus again. And I'm going to accept the fact that it's going to be running in a different direction. And I'm fine with that, sort of. I need to just get this off. I'm beginning to rip my washi tape. So I've already got stamping here. Now, this is going to be the bottom right-hand corner of my card. So if I make it the top left-hand corner here, it'll be fine. And then ink up my stamp again. And stamp. And there we have a nice little carry through from the front of the card. So, oops, and apparently some nail varnish. Oh well, the joys of my mono eraser. If I work on that, that will come off. So, let me see what I've got in card bases. I have a sneaking suspicion I should have prepped something, but yeah, I should have done. See, this is what comes of not preparing and not feeling 100%. Okay, mint macaron, where are you? There you are. Let me grab a piece of mint macaron. So what I'm going to do, it's a good reason to show you how I prepare my card backs. Now this is going to be a short fat card rather than a long thin card. Normally I do long thin cards, but I like to have the crease at the top of the card for my photos. So I'm putting this at, this is International A4, so I'm putting it on 10.5 centimetres and scoring. And then at about 14.8 something centimetres, it's always a bit vague. And that will be your card blank. So that's 2 card blanks in one. Score once, cut once. And just fold that in half and reinforce with my bone folder. Such a good tool. This is going on the inside. There we go. And then this goes on the outside, and again I'm going to use snail, although it is generally easier to use snail when you haven't stuck something dimensional onto your card, but we'll get there. It'll be fine. It's going to get a bit interesting when we're working around the pearl, but oop, there we go. It was fine. Okay, so there we go. One really nice guy card, which are always a bit of a struggle, but I hope you agree that the new stamp set is really useful. Say well dressed. It's a level 1, available in my online store, level 1 celebration item, so £45 or more, and you get to choose this as one of your as one of the items that you can select. Do bear in mind that the card kit, the kerchief card kit, which I did all those alternative projects on, has now gone. In the States, this went a little while ago, and the next one that went in the States is the twine and sequin set, which goes with the birthday bonanza bundle. So if you want that, I would think about it sooner rather than later, because we are getting to that point where once things are gone, they're not going to come back into stock. So just bear that in mind. So thank you very much indeed for watching. If you enjoyed that, please give it a thumbs up. Do remember to subscribe if you don't already do so. Any questions or comments, you can leave those below. I'm a little bit behind on answering, but I will get round to doing those very soon. I may even have done them by the time you see this. And do remember that there'll be close-up photos and more information over on my website, and that is also linked below. Thank you very much indeed for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon. Bye!